Chapter 1, Willyville Manor. Our story begins in 1825, home of Mr. and Mrs. Master Elgin Wilkins II and their 9 children, Big John James, or Big JJ, Jacob Jeremiah, their twins, Trell Joe Bob and Little Third James, and their youngest son, Elgin Malcolm. They had 3 daughters, Terry Lynn LaRue, Redberry Ray, and Jada Ree Sue. These children were not a close group of siblings. This family was fueled by jealousy, greed, lust, and inhumanity. The purest soul of all had always been Elgin Malcolm, who was poised to inherit Willyville. Master Elgin Malcolm wasn't just the youngest, but the head plantation overseer. He was well respected by the people he encountered because he was a humble intellectual, a quiet storm. Elgin Malcolm was fair and beloved by all at Willyville, including the slaves. He was the one that was special, or one of us, so to speak. Elgin Malcolm understood the assignment. This family plantation, Willyville Manor, stretched far and wide over and beyond the swamps and bayous of Louisiana, blanketing well over 5,000 acres. Their vast land was primarily down near Rainbow Parish, Louisiana. Once Papa Wilkins, their patriarch, passed away earlier that year, the land was inherited by his only son, Master Elgin Wilkins II, whose rightful duty was to assume ownership of the plantation, just as the will stated. The vast plantation was officially passed down to Elgin Wilkins II, and with the help of his sons and their crew, they had been overseeing and running the plantation as a formidable unit over the years. Once Master Wilkins II became the family boss, he promised himself that he would make his family proud and continue the legacy of Willyville. The main house, nestled behind lush vegetation, consisted of over 30 rooms, 15 master bedrooms with private baths, a massive kitchen, a family room that sat at least 50 comfortably, and a dining room boasting of wealth and privilege. There was a separate garden for the 10 chefs, who all worked for Mama Meech or Big Mama, a middle-aged house slave who served as young Master Elgin Malcolm's teacher when he was a child, and practically raised him. Mama Meech's family worked for the Wilkins for years, so their bond was destiny. He grew up on her breast, chest, cooking, and her southern rearing. He loved her so much he gave her a job in the mansion kitchen. The structure was a giant, sprawling 2-story mansion with breathtaking views as it backed up to a massive lake full of rainbow trout and catfish. This grandiose and palatial estate may have appeared heavenly on the outside, but within the walls, pure hell. Other plantations became known for their abhorrent behavior. Lynching of black male slaves became normal, and all we saw were images of strange fruit swinging and hanging from the trees. This plantation was known by some folks as Willyville, pronounced Wiley or Wildly, because the atrocities which occurred on this property and the surrounding land were wild indeed. Born and raised in the swamps of Louisiana, young Master Elgin Wilkins' family history dates back centuries. In Elgin's mind, his family plantation always had at least 200 or more slaves. All he remembers is plantation life as he was born into it. This was the only way of life he had known, so for him, this is how things were meant to be. Whites as masters and blacks as servants. The Wilkins' wealth was amassed through vast acres of cotton, sugarcane crops, corn, tobacco, rice, and spices. However, as of late, the land was not producing. The geographical area where Willyville was located was known for treacherous storms, so Elgin needed a new idea to generate more profits since his precious crops were oftentimes susceptible to damage due to natural weather occurrences. A friendly man toward his kind especially, Elgin's circle of friends was constantly discussing wealth-making ideas. Around the early to mid-1800s, a certain idea began to circulate among the rich regarding alligators and crocodiles. Apparently, the skin, hide, and meat from alligators became the bayou delicacy, or the latest topic of interest for merchants, thriving in the sale of alligators because they were making considerable profits. Specifically, the skins of these reptiles or saurians, once they were tanned and perfected or to the desired material, they were sold. This commodity assisted in the wholesale manufacturing and retail consumption of such products that included boots, belts, wallets, bags, etc. Having alligator or crocodile skinned fashionable items were seen as a status symbol for the wealthy during this era. Therefore, Master Elgin Wilkins II was determined to research and explore how these other plantation owners were benefiting from this new idea and becoming more profitable. In order to restore his plantation to greatness, he would commit any necessary evil to protect and sustain his family's fortune. He needed to accumulate more wealth. This would keep the plantation operable. The land of that size was expensive, and Master Elgin and his family lived well. To continue this lifestyle and tradition, obtaining another stream of income was the obvious goal and ultimate objective. The stable of slaves that Mr. Wilkins' acquisition over the years was incredible. Good stock. These slaves had great muscles, wide arms, nice thighs, and buttocks. The mating between his most prized possessions created the strongest offspring that were also used to work the fields and till the land. Mr. Wilkinson's stock had good gums and teeth, and the women were so full-bosomed and voluptuous that it was hard for him to stay away. He strayed because, again, he believed his behavior was normal, even though he was married, and Mrs. Wilkins bore him 6 sons and 3 daughters. During this period, most of the white women married to slave owners were not allowed to speak up or express themselves. They were either forced to turn a blind eye to this sort of behavior, or perhaps they would rather or simply endure the shame and embarrassment than to be without a fine, wealthy white Southern gentleman. I said most, not all. Other white women managed to change the course of history too. The male bloodline for the Wilkins would not be the only ones involved with the servants. Master Elgin Malgin Wilkins, the youngest son, and 2 of Elgin's youngest daughters, Red Berry Ray and Jada Ray Sue, fell in love with several slaves, and between the 3 of them, they bore Master Elgin Wilkins II over 14 biracial grandchildren. Between the livestock, such as horses, cows, bulls, pigs, hogs, sheep, chickens, and turkey that were tended to every day, there was fish from the lake that needed catching. These chores were in addition to work in the cotton, sugarcane, corn, tobacco, rice, and spice crops daily. Those Willyville slaves worked all day and night, and Mr. Wilkins believed he had a happy plantation. Slaves ate good scraps, were able to sing, dance, enjoy each other's company, and were even allowed to mingle among one another. When the slave families were allowed leisure time, they felt a sense of relief, even if it was only for one night. This did not last long. There was a growing tension over this land, spanning at least 40 years, and the energy was beginning to feel like a pressure cooker. During various years, several outspoken slaves organized a few unsuccessful rebellions, and after these rebellions, Elgin watched his slaves a lot closer. He truly believed his slaves should be happy, or were happy to live this lifestyle, even as these unfamiliar emotions were constantly forced upon them. Elgin believed his slaves loved him. This stemmed from his own way of thinking and his guilt from the outbreak of the race mixing. He felt that a few loved him, especially for allowing that. He only allowed it himself because he could not stop and was involved in it. Master Elgin Wilkins II was known to have a fetish for young slave girls, the pure ones. He was extremely controlling, and to instill fear, he used mental and psychological warfare to punish them. On most plantations, there were inhumane acts being committed, but nothing was ever done to cease the barbaric behavior of these slave owners. These plantation owners in the American South were able to run their plantation or plantations the way in which they saw fit. The men were allowed to rape, assault, or commit murder of any slave of choice on any given day, and there was never any justice. The treatment of slaves was indeed deplorable. Slaves were viewed as subhuman, non-people who did not have a soul and were incapable of having individual thoughts. The usage of slaves and their quick adaptation to physical labor, which Mr. Wilkins and others believed stemmed from their physique, created a situation that bred a characteristic that these men had in common. An obsession, if you will. These slave owners felt no shame in buck-breaking male slaves or dehumanizing young female slaves. The true, uncaring, and callous ones enjoyed causing infighting and jealousy among the slaves. They would place wagers on fights between the slaves to see who was the strongest. These events were to the death. These were necessary evils and tactics slave owners used in order to maintain control. At Willyville, which had at least 200 slaves and was still growing, the use of the whip was rare. Elgin punished his slaves more mentally than physically. He had an obsession for his property. Again, Elgin referred to his traits and methods of torture as psychological warfare, not physical. He would only take away their leisure privileges. No whips, lynchings, boiling kettles of water or vats of sugar did he use. No torture toward his slaves. He worked his slaves to death, so the idea of killing his income or maiming them was a thought that he did not entertain until his life changed in 1825. The irony here is how he was never seduced by death or the outright cold-blooded murdering or killing of any of his slaves, especially children, until the idea of using black children as gator bait surfaced. This idea thrust him into a new mental hemisphere, and he not only entertained the idea, but saved his family's legacy. Master Elgin Wilkins II was able to create generational wealth for his family because of the profits that were made due to the sale of both alligator and crocodile skins. Furthermore, even though Elgin was considered a narcissistic, maniacal lunatic, he believed he was a good person. He would never admit this openly, but he enjoyed the beauty of his property, especially the young females, but also secretly envied the prowess, virility, and shape of the males. Elgin also admired the tenacity, hard work, and familial bonds created by what he referred to as his property. He was a proud plantation owner and admired his stable of human chattel. It was almost endearing in the beginning. My goal is to help you understand what we were dealing with here. Elgin's own upbringing disallowed him to see his slaves, or black and brown people, our people, as actual human beings, such as himself. And that speaks volumes when it comes to inherent psychological or pathological behavior. This family believed they were untouchable. In addition, the sheer firepower that Willyville bolstered intimidated most. Jacob and Jeremiah were former military, so there were sizable weapons, barns, and provisions on the plantation. There were hired border patrols, so no one escaped unless they had a desire to be shot. No other family came against the Wilkins unless they had a desire to be unalived. Despite the semi-frequent rebellions, revolts, or small uprisings a few of his former slaves may have caused, the idea that he would ever lose his land, slaves, or family never crossed Master Elgin Wilkins' mind. Elgin was again arrogant, cocky, and always prepared for battle with 2 Colt 45s, one on each hip at all times. He well fit the trait and was perceived as a maniacal lunatic by his slaves, but in his position, Master Elgin Wilkins had to believe that the entire plantation loved him, but also feared and loathed him, so he was duty-bound to protect them. Elgin believed he was good white folk who took care of his slaves, from newborns, elderly, and crippled. This was also because the Willyville plantation had a healthy, growing population of slaves. Although hidden in plain sight, the topic was never openly discussed, but Willyville was clearly a breeding plantation. Elgin made sure that his finest stock bred regularly, and he and Mama Meech followed the menstrual cycle of his breeders to ensure there were enough births of black babies to successfully and consistently perpetuate their parents' situation and provide more free labor to the plantation. A vicious cycle. His use of these babies over the years seems to cause him no inner pain or turmoil, that is, until he lost his mind while skeet shooting. He was never the same ever since. One could say karma, if you believe in that. The year is 1825. We see the aerial view of the luxurious Lady Marmalade Chateau and Estates in Everglades City, Florida, near Collier County and Marco Island on the Chaskalooskee Bay. There are servants preparing for the next slavery auction and soiree. This is a magnificent black tie affair attended by affluent Southern families. Men, women, and children of African descent, however, will be sold over the course of the weekend to the highest bidders. Mr. and Mrs. Master Elgin Wilkins II are preparing to travel by stagecoaches the 676 miles from Louisiana to Florida for the 2-day weekend auction at Lady Marmalade Chateau and Estates. Interior, master bedroom. Elgin looks admiringly at his petite wife as she frantically looks for her favorite scarf. She was a fine Southern belle. How she tolerated his behavior, he'd never understand. Elgin knew he had at least one blessing with his wife. They had something special, quiet, unspoken, but eerie. "Hurry up now, gal. You do this every time we go out," Elgin chuckled. "I beg your pardon? Mind your business, fine sir. I must find everything I need for this excruciating journey." Nicole toyed with Elgin as she laughed haughtily. Mrs. Wilkins beamed with pride. "I am so grateful that we get to get out of this house. Been cooped up. Thank you, Master Elgin. You are truly a good man, and good to me." House slaves continued packing luggage for Mr. and Mrs. Wilkins. Mrs. Wilkins, Big Mama Meech, and her 2 daughters, along with Cletus and Cleotis Wilkins, head of security detail, are preparing for departure. Cletus and Cleotis round up their men to ensure proper and adequate security detail for the travelers, especially their aunt and uncle. Their fine horses are being fed and brushed, and carriages cleaned for travel. The horses are now prepped, and the stagecoaches are suitable for travel by Mrs. Wilkins, Big Mama Meech, and her 2 daughters, Auntie May and Shani Denise. Auntie Auntie May and Auntie Shani Denise always accompanied Mrs. Wilkins and Big Mama Meech on these outings, especially slave auctions. These ladies enjoyed themselves immensely, but pretended they hated it for fear of retaliation from other house slaves, whose envy and jealousy fueled tension. Therefore, these aunties knew how to behave accordingly. They were extremely appreciative and grateful that they were treated much better than the slaves that worked in the fields. They would never admit that this notion gave these 2 a sense of superiority and arrogance, but despite their status, they appeared humble among everyone, which is why they were easily trusted. As Cletus and Cleotis brush the fine horses and get them saddled up for the excursion, they discuss provisions. After all, they are security. They know this is a long journey, but it should be worth it. Once they settle in, they like to mingle among the womenfolk that are their kind, so they are always thrilled to represent their Uncle Elgin at these fine events. Plus, the dinners were always so fantastic that they felt somewhat spoiled. Cletus and Cleotis would never let their kinfolk down. Exterior, plantation grounds. Cletus and Cleotis discuss the upcoming trip and food provisions. "Did you pack enough of them good apples from Big Mama's farm, Cleotis? She got the sweetest," Cletus exclaimed. "Just for a snack. Long journey." "Course I did. Need more than apples. I got us some bread. Plus I know Elgin just expect us to have more food. Big Mama and her daughters got us covered. Once we get to the Everglades, man, I'm gonna eat like a king. I know I'll be starving by then," Cleotis joked. The journey to the Florida Everglades begins on Monday, and they arrive at Lady Marmalade Chateau and Estates later that week on Thursday evening. They travel by way of 2 opulent stagecoaches with 4 horses pulling each, while security Cletus and Cleotis Wilkins led the way. Interior first stagecoach. The ladies are typically fanning themselves, having tea, sleeping, or talking about the latest fashion. The stagecoaches are designed to fit four comfortably and also designed for sleeping. Mrs. Wilkins reaches for her cup of tea. She sips slowly as the carriage moves forward. Big Mama had arranged a nice charcuterie assortment of cheeses and fruits as usual. Nicole Wilkins always looked forward to traveling with Master Elgin. She enjoyed the soirees and the fine social life her status as a Southern belle bestowed upon her. She was obliged and truly grateful to be a Southern housewife. "Thanks, Big Mama. You are truly one of a kind," exclaimed Mrs. Wilkins as she sipped her tea. "You know how much I enjoy your accompaniment on these journeys. You are a dear." Mrs. Wilkins reached across the stagecoach they were sharing and slowly grabbed Big Mama's hand. She looked her square in the eye and whispered the words, "Forgive me." Big Mama was caught off guard because she didn't understand what Mrs. was trying to tell her. Looking back, it all makes sense now. Interior second stagecoach. The secondary coach is used by Big Mama's daughters. They are responsible for preparing and serving food on this journey for all the parties involved. They are the chefs as well as housekeeping. Auntie Adie Mae tries to wake up Auntie Shani Denise by shrugging her shoulders. Auntie Shani Denise is tired from the long journey and is trying to rest before they get to Chateau Lady Mama Alive. She wants to look well rested, but Auntie Adie Mae keeps bugging her. Sister, will you please, won't you get up? Please wake up. You're missing all the sights and scenery and all. Wake up, girl." Auntie Adie Mae said as she shook her sister's shoulders in order to wake her up from her sleep. Auntie Shani begins to stir, turning to face her sister, slightly irritated that she was woken up. "Can you please just let me sleep until we stop again, sister? I am really tired. I love you, I want to talk, but I want to sleep too," Auntie Shani Denise explained. Auntie Adie Mae wouldn't listen. She described to her sister how she had heard the master and the missus talking about new ideas for the plantation. New ideas that could make them super rich. Auntie Shani Denise listened quietly and made a mental note to watch Master Elgin and Nicole Wilkins closely.